up guys? I watch Boys Over Flowers. So if you guys saw my last video on Meteor Garden, I wanted to watch Boys Over Flowers because I felt like what everybody was saying was to watch Boys Over Flowers. And here's the thing, I knew that, but I decided to still watch Meteor Garden first. I loved Boys Over Flowers, so I have a lot to say. So I'm gonna start off just basically talking about Boys Over Flowers, but I am gonna spend some time comparing Boys Over Flowers with Meteor Garden because that's who I am. I like to compare things. I will start off by saying that I love Boys Over Flowers and I love Meteor Garden. Yes, they are the same story. However, they are both amazing in their own way. Basically, what I'm gonna do comparing them is not necessarily like tear them apart. Basically, I'm just gonna give my thoughts on like what one did good, when one should have done better, and that stuff. Because again, I love both of them. I think they were great. So I don't have anything super negative to say about them. I'm a sucker for a good drama. So I'm just excited to talk about them because this is my channel and I like talking about things. So I'm gonna first start off talking about Boys Over Flowers, so let's get into it. I obviously loved Boys Over Flowers. I'm a good sucker for a drama that makes me feel good inside. I love all of that, so I actually really enjoyed it. I thought the storytelling was a lot better in this show because I felt like they were going with the pace of the show really well, that I was actually keeping up, and they were developing things really well. I'm trying not to say too much because I feel like this is also a point that I have against Meteor Garden, so I'm trying to save that for that part of the video. But I just really like how they told the story in this one. I just felt like a lot smoother for me and a lot more organic in terms of like what the characters were going through. I think Lamino as Gu Jung-pyo was amazing. Everyone told me, everyone slid into my DMs, even my mom, and was like, you're gonna love this dude. And I was like, okay, sure. And then I did. It was like the third episode and I was like, this man, so great. I thought he carried the show very well, and I just loved his character because I feel like you can see like the character growth for his character that made sense as well, like how he started off like a terrible human and he ended up being a really great guy, even though he was still full of himself towards the end, but he was still a little bit better, you know? So I thought he was a great part of the show. I feel like he carried the show because that's who his character was set up to be, and it was great. I absolutely loved it. Goom Jin-di was also amazing as a character. Again, I don't want to say too much about her because I feel like I'm gonna say a lot in like comparing her with Shensai, but I think she was a great character. She was very strong from start to finish, and I feel like that's something that I liked, that she stood her ground the whole show, that she knew who she was gonna do her own thing, and I just really appreciated that. I feel like she was just super fun to watch. She was silly, she was goofy, she was herself, but she was still strong and independent, and I really liked that. And I feel like both of those main characters had just such great chemistry that I really enjoyed watching them, that it was actually fun seeing them go through all their shenanigans at first and then fall in love. I was rooting for them. It was something that I needed. The show was definitely a lot. It has a lot of like bullying, which was a little intense at times, I'm not gonna lie. So there was a lot of bullying in the show and a lot of blood, which I was not expecting. Not that I'm a super squeamish person. I mean, I've watched Narcos Mexico and that show had scenes that I literally had to go watch something happy after I was done. But like there's a first scene in the first episode that I feel like it was more that it just caught me off guard because I was expecting this like super fun love story of a guy trying to make a girl fall in love with him. So I was not expecting that first scene whatsoever. I will say that F4 in this show is a lot more intense compared to Meteor Garden. Again, I should save this for the comparison part, but I just want to say that because I feel like their bullying was like legit bullying. They were getting people hurt and all that stuff, and that's a little intense. So that's something that I feel like was completely like, I don't know, jarring to me because I was not expecting that. Again, I was just expecting a fun lovey show. So I mean, like once I like got that they were doing that, like I was like, okay, I should expect it more. But yeah, it was a little jarring at first, especially with that first scene. Like I was just not expecting that to happen, so I was like, oh. But yeah, there was a lot of physical violence in the show. I feel like it was just because it was so intense. Like I get that it's happening, like it could happen, it's a show, they can do whatever they want, but like they dialed it up to like 100 sometimes. Also, the mom in the show is completely evil. Like like she got this girl's apartment demolished. Like this lady was doing evil things. I should also mention that this will have spoilers, so thankfully I think so far I've been doing good of not spoiling anything, but this will have spoilers, so just be aware. there's spoilers. The mom like literally makes it seem like their dad died, but he was just in a coma, and that's just like the most insane thing that like, what the heck. So yeah, the mom in Boys Over Flowers is intense. That's actually what made her such a great character, is that like I genuinely feared her. Like she was scary, and that actually sold me, because I was like, dude, this lady's capable of anything. This is gonna be fun to watch, because I like a good villain, and that was just crazy. I think something that this show did really well as well is explain why they kind of made their choices. For example, like Jandy was really needing money, so everything she did was because she was needed money, and Gu Junpyo wouldn't understand that at times because he's obviously a rich guy. They did a good job of like explaining both sides of things and like why she's doing things and why he doesn't understand, but like they have to work together to like figure out why they're different and they grow together. So that's something I really liked. I also did like the F4 guys in this show as well, like especially towards later on when they kind of start developing their own like personalities and stuff, because at first they were super like apprehensive to like Jandy and they just thought he was being mean to her for like no reason. But I like that they actually become her friend. Every time they would come to like her rescue or just to support her, I thought it was super cute because you saw them just kind of embrace her, and I thought that was really nice to see. I just thought that was so cute, like just genuine friendship. Something I also really liked in this version was I love how they played out the whole storyline of Gu Junpyo getting married. I really did like that they actually went towards like literally them having a ceremony and then the girl stopping it, because I felt like that again felt a lot more organic, and it felt like a genuine way out for him, because if he was the one stopping him, even Jandy said at one point that like it was gonna keep happening if he was the one stopping it. So I really like that they actually got to that point that you're like, oh my gosh, it couldn't possibly happen, but then she stops it, and I felt like that was a nice way to like tie out that storyline. Even though I was stressed out as heck, like this girl was intense. She was pushing for this marriage. She was going for it, which I guess I admire. If it's Gu Junpyo, you would do everything to get his attention, I'm pretty sure. I just thought that was a really great way to like do that whole storyline. I really enjoyed it, even though I was super stressed out, but it made for a better show. You like drama, that's what it was. I talked a lot about what I like, so I gotta talk about some things that I don't like. I feel like in this version they did Joohoo dirty. Obviously there's a love triangle and you're supposed to root for Jandy and Gu Junpyo. It makes sense, but Joohoo was like the sweetest guy to her, and they did him dirty, and he should have deserved a happy ending. I wanted him to see super happy at the end. So I was kind of mad that they just, or not mad, I was just disappointed that they just gave him like a normal ending. I expected more. So also they introduced like the most annoying character, like the second to last episode, the freaking girl at the hospital. So again, this has spoilers. Gu Junpyo gets an accident and he like gets short-term memory loss and he forgets all about Jandy. And then they introduce the most annoying character ever. It's this girl in the hospital who like basically weasels her way in and makes him fall in love with her. She's so annoying. Like there was no need to have a new character when this show's literally about to end. And she was just so annoying because she was basically trying to like make sure he didn't remember Jandy. She was just getting in the way. So I hated that. I feel like it also wasted a lot of time of the actual last episode. I get that like they still wanted like another way of like showing how like Gu Junpyo would eventually still choose Jandy at the end. I get that, but like I hated this storyline. There was no need. Like I would have preferred that like it all happened really fast and they used the last episode to just tie things together a lot more, and we would have seen more of the couple together, because that would have been a lot cuter. Spend the last episode actually having them be happy together. So that's something I didn't really like. I mean, this is an old show, so I can't really like blame them on their production, but like they had like a lot of really weird flashbacks in this show, and by weird I mean they'll flashback to something that just happened. So like one character will say something and then like a minute later something else would be happening and that character remembers what this one person said, and they'll literally flash back to what just happened. And I just thought that was weird. Like they do it throughout the show too, that I was like, if we just saw that, we get it, we get the connection here, we don't have to see it again. So they had a lot of those flashbacks that I was just like, why? And another thing, the music. If I hear Almost Paradise one more time, I'm probably gonna cry. I can't with that song anymore. Also, I guess more on the production side of things, I felt like their sound mixing needed to be a lot better, because there's times where like I had my volume at like a normal like volume level and I can hear them fine, but then like one character would yell and it would just be super loud and it just didn't sound nice. Like it didn't didn't sound like the sound mixing was blended really well together. Again, that's more of like the production side of things, but overall I thought it was a very entertaining show. I would like literally recommend it to people who are like trying to get into K-dramas. I was like, watch Boys Over Flowers first and go from there. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was like the cutest thing ever. I'm a sucker for cute things, so I was all for it. I thought it was great. Obviously it had its flaws, not a perfect show, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. So if you guys want to start with K-drama, start with Boys Over Flowers and go from there. And if you already watched it, then you know what I'm saying. It's great. Again, I'm gonna compare Boys Over Flowers with Meteor Garden. I know that I shouldn't because I feel like they all have their own style and their own way, but this is who I am. I like to compare things, and I know I did this the whole time that I was watching it. I was like, well, in Meteor Gardens they did this and blah blah blah. So here are my thoughts about both. Something that I think was super interesting now having watched Meteor Garden and Boys Over Flowers is that I feel like weirdly Meteor Garden now feels like a teen show, although they're in college, whereas Boys Over Flowers, I can see it more of like a young adultier drama, even though they start off in high school, which is a very interesting thing. Meteor Gardens is definitely like a bubblegum happy show. Yes, there's like drama here and there, but like it's still like a very cheery show. Like that's how they make it be. Like you're gonna just have fun watching it. And I feel like Boys Over Flowers had like a lot heavier drama. There was a lot more going on with the characters. Even the other guys in F4 had their own storylines told, which were like heavy storylines. Like it wasn't just all happy, everything's fine type of storylines. And I feel like that's also why I liked Boys Over Flowers more, is that I felt like I got that feel. Not that I'm super old, I'm 27, but I feel like that's also why I like Boys Over Flowers a little bit more, was that I felt like I could just genuinely watch this show. While Meteor Garden, as much as I loved it, it was still very like a cutesy, like younger feel of a show. That's just how I felt. Let me know if you guys see what I'm talking about when I mean that. Meteor Gardens definitely feels like a very fun teeny bopper drama, but like Boys Over Flowers is just like a regular drama. So let me know if you guys understand what I mean. So maybe it's all in my head. Pacing is another thing that was super important. Boys Over Flowers was 25 episodes. Meteor Garden is 49 episodes, I believe. So Meteor Garden is a lot longer, but I feel like that actually worked against them, because obviously Meteor Garden has a lot of the similar storylines that Boys Over Flowers have, but I know like something that happened to one character in Boys Over Flowers, they broke it up to have like two different storylines for two different characters in Meteor Garden. But I feel like it just dragged out a lot of the stories for too long. I feel like Daoming-seo and Shunsai, their like back and forth was just way too long, that like by the time that like she actually loved him, I like didn't care, because I was just like, girl, you've been dumb so long. Like I just genuinely don't care about you being ending up with him. So like in Boys Over Flowers, I do feel like they introduced a lot of things earlier on. That you meet Gun Jung-pyo's mom pretty early on in the series, so you like know that she's like evil and that she's always there. Obviously they go through the same trials and like hardships, where like I know there's a point where like Jandae's with Joohoo and like all of that, but like I feel like they pretty much fall in love early on, that like throughout the show you can see that they're generally trying to be together, that they do really love each other and all of that. So you root for them because you're like, I want this to happen. I know all of these bad things are happening. So that's something that I really liked. Where like in Meteor Garden, it was just dragging forever and I was just getting tired of everyone and I was just so annoyed. Again, by the time that like Shandy made up her mind and like loved this guy, I like didn't care. I just wanted them to introduce someone new that he can be with, because I was over it. So I definitely didn't like the pacing in Meteor Garden. I feel like for having so many episodes, they could have done a better job if they wanted to flesh out like character storylines. Like I hated like having Thomas actually be a recurring character instead of just like a one-time thing. Something that's like a weird pro-con thing is that I did like that Meteor Garden had a wedding. I just didn't like how they did the wedding, because again, this is gonna be one of my points in the whole Shunsai versus Jandae thing, is that I just feel like Shunsai was a little bit dumb. I'm glad that they had a wedding in Meteor Garden. I wish they had a wedding in Boys Over Flowers, especially because at that point it was like a time jump thing and they were a lot older. They could have gotten married. If we didn't have the annoying storyline with the freaking hospital girl, we could have had a wedding in the last episode, but whatever. Comparing Daoming-seo with Gun Jung-pyo, they're both great. I feel like both actors are amazing. I enjoyed watching them both. Something I feel like they did well with each of their characters, I feel like, again, it might also just be the writing. I feel like with Daoming-seo, you can tell that he was like a good guy with like a harsh like mask, that he was just trying to be a lot meaner than he actually was. Like deep down he was actually just a sweet guy and he was just kind of putting on like a face. Whereas with Go I feel like he had character growth in the way that like he started off mean, but like as he was getting to know Jondi and realizing all about her life and all stuff, he generally over time became a lot of a better person. So that's something that I like about both. I feel like they both had like their own way of going about the character that I thought was great to watch. I will say I'm not excusing the bad things they did at the start. They did bad things at the start. Like Damingsa literally hit Shunsai with some food in the first episode, if I remember. That's a little intense. So I'm not saying they're perfect, guys, don't get me wrong. The characters, I'm talking about specifically about the characters. The characters are half flaws. I'm not saying they're perfect, but they do become really cute at the end, that you're like rooting for them, you want them to be happy. I definitely like both characters. I think they did great. Something I like more about Go is I feel like he took on a lot of responsibility throughout the show, which again goes back to just the storytelling. I think they did a good job of showing him like being actually in charge of the company and like how that actually affected his like personal life and why he was making certain choices. I like seeing that a lot better, while like Damingsa was just like a kid living his life and got his credit card shut off at one point and was angry about it, and it was not really to like the very end where you see him actually like have a plan to save his family's group. Like I feel like they should have done a lot of that earlier on. Like I felt like you could see like Go had more of like a adult moment where he kind of had to grow up. I would have liked to see that a lot better. So I feel like Go was really great in that sense. But Damingsa was fun to watch. He was just like a goofy dude. I think they're both great. Then you have Shunsai versus Jondi. Jondi is a lot better. I'm gonna just say that right now. I kind of hinted at this in my Meteor Garden video, which if you guys haven't seen it, go watch it. I kind of hated Shunsai. I didn't say it so clearly in that video. I just hinted at it. But now that I've seen Boys Over Flowers, I can straight up say Shunsai was the worst character. If you guys actually follow me on Instagram, which go follow me, I always give my thoughts on like whatever show I'm watching as I'm watching them. But oh my gosh, I literally would say this all the time. I just did not like Shunsai's character. I feel like she started off great. She was tough. She was standing up to the mean guy and everything was great. In that sense, cool. Again, this goes back to the writing. I'm not saying it's the actor's fault. I think it's the storytelling or however they wrote the story. Is the fact that I feel like they dumb her down a lot as the show goes on. Like she's always like, why is this happening? What is this doing? Like Damingsa can literally say something so clearly and she'll be like, what? There's a whole scene where she's like in the cooking competition and he goes like cheers for her and she's like, why is he doing this? Is he just saying this because he wants my money? And I'm like, girl, he's cheering for you. Shut up. There's honestly so many scenes of like I'm just frustrated with Shunsai because she just is so dumb. Like sometimes I'm just like get the context of what's going on. And that's actually what I loved about Jondi and even Go. I feel like they did a really good job of like understanding the context. Because again, like something that I liked a lot more is that like whenever Go mom would do something to Jondi, he would immediately pick up on it. He's like, okay, you're acting this way because my mom did something to you. And that's something that I really enjoyed. Whereas Shunsai and Damingsa just seemed clueless sometimes. That I was like, bro, your mom did this and that's why she's acting up. Something I also didn't like about Shunsai is that she always put her friends before Damingsa. I get it. You should love your friends and respect them and always want the best for them, but she always put them first. I'm gonna say this a lot. It's also the writing of the show. Something that I liked a lot more in Boys Over Flowers is that Go mom did a lot of mean things, obviously to keep them away, but she started off just by like going after Jondi. Like her last resort was to go against her friends and like the people she cared about, and that was like her breaking point because she didn't want anyone to get hurt. So I like that progression a lot better because you understand her motives at that point, that she's kind of at the end of her rope. She just wants to be done with everything. Whereas in Meteor Garden, she goes after her friends first and then Shunsai like, bye, I don't want to do this. So again, this just bothered me in the storytelling because I was like, girl, you didn't even try to fighting for Damingsa. And then it was just like, okay, like you don't really care about him that much. You care about everyone else though. And there's actually an episode, I don't remember which one, but he actually does tell her that you're like, you put everyone else before me. And I was like, yeah, she does. And I hated that just because like eventually do get together, I like don't care because I was like, you were against him so many times throughout the show that now you want to be with him, and it just bothered me so much. Jondi is definitely 100% a way better character. So like towards the end when she like doesn't accept his proposal before obviously the time jump, I understand where she's coming from because I saw her growth and she's still trying to be her own person and stand up for herself. But like I feel like Shunsai was just kind of I'm like, okay, cool. And it's something I also didn't like about Shinsai is that I felt like they hyped her up so much. One of the things I feel like the whole point of Jinpyo and Damingsa liking Shinsai and Jandi is that they're like normal girls. They were normal plain girls. They weren't rich. They weren't super extra at anything. They were just normal regular girls. Like that was the whole like storyline. That was what the story was supposed to be. And they did a good job at like keeping Jandi just be like a simple girl, just making her way alive. She's struggling, but she's pushing through. And that's something that I like. Where like Shinsai, they like always hyped her up. Like she literally gets to the freaking cooking competition and gets a special award. And then her freaking squid business goes like on the internet and goes viral. I just didn't like that. Like she was supposed to still be like a regular girl who wasn't supposed to be like super like, oh, now I'm amazing and everything I touch is gold. Once seeing Boys Over Flowers, I kind of appreciated the way they wrote Jandi a lot better. That she was just a regular girl and she fell in love with this guy and he loves her literally just for who she is. They try to make Shinsai be like the perfect girl, but I feel like it should have just been like she was still very normal and that's why he loved her. So Hwazale and Jihu, I feel like I like both for like different reasons. Storyline in Boys Over Flowers again was a lot more intense. So like Jihu, he had a lot of backstory in this version, which I very much enjoyed because you kind of see where he's coming from and kind of why he's so like to himself. But I actually really like Jihu's character because I feel like he also stood up for himself a lot more. He was always there for Jandi and I really like seeing that happen. He basically told Gu Jinpyo if he wasn't gonna man up, he was gonna take Jandi. I'm not a fan of like love triangles in general, but I feel like I like how they did that because you can see that he was like actually like her friend and you can see how she was getting hurt and he was like, you know what, if he's not gonna love her, I will. Where like in Meteor Garden, like I like Hwazale. I think he was a great person. I loved his outfit, super great guy, but I feel like he was still very like kept to himself throughout the show. Like yeah, he was like her good friend and would always be there and defend her. He eventually does try to like fight for her, but like I feel like I didn't feel that from him. Like eventually like I was just like, okay, like he's just trying to get her back with like Damingsa. So I felt like there wasn't as much conflict. Like sure there was conflict, but like it wasn't as intense. I hated the whole telling her to turn off her phone for 48 hours thing. That was just weird. I would never do that to like anyone. I mean, I wouldn't turn off my phone for like more than a few hours. So I don't feel like I have too much to say about both. I feel like I didn't hate Hwazale. I thought he was a great dude, great character. I just felt like they should have done a little bit more with him and just had his stance a little more clear. And that's actually why I ended up liking Jihu a lot more towards the end, because I felt like he was actually like, no, like I'm gonna do this and I'm not gonna like just give in to like my friend's request when he's the one doing things wrong, you know? So this is gonna be the weirdest thing I could possibly end on, but the moms in this show were obviously evil, but I don't regret watching Meteor Garden first because I felt like I still went through the motions in that show. I was still angry, I was still anxious, I was going through all of them. But watching Boys Over Flowers, the mom in Boys Over Flowers is a lot more terrifying and evil. She was so mean. Like I feel like now watching the shows, the mom in Meteor Garden was, sure, she was evil, she was doing bad things, but it just seemed like child's play. Boys Over Flowers, she was going for it. She was pulling all the stops. She wasn't holding back. She was making sure her son did not stay with Jandi. And again, that's one of the reasons I don't regret watching Meteor Garden first, because I still lived through the emotions, the evil mom storyline, but like seeing Boys Over Flowers, the mom there was a lot more intense. So I feel like going back and rewatching Meteor Garden, I would be like more chilled out, like, oh, she's not really that mean. She was mean, I'm not saying she wasn't, but like she wasn't as mean is what I'm trying to say. I feel like Boys Over Flowers was meant to be like this emotional rush, and it was really crazy. But I feel like Meteor Garden, again, goes back to like my thoughts about it. I feel like it was just like a chilled out like teen show, like you're supposed to just fall in love with them. I'm not gonna lie, every time Meteor Garden plays Say Something, you know, I was in tears. The freaking scene where she's saying goodbye to her in the London restaurant was literally the most saddest thing I've ever seen. I low-key cried. It was beautiful, it was heartbreaking, all of those things. Those are just kind of like some of my thoughts. I feel like I'm gonna think of a million things after I'm done with this video. Let me know what your thoughts are down below. If you guys have seen one or the other, or if you've seen both, let me know your thoughts on those shows. I love to hear what you guys think and just kind of talk to you guys. I will 100% rewatch both of them. Like, that's how much I love them. them. So yeah, I really had fun watching them. But if you guys have any more thoughts, anything you guys want to say about them, leave them down in the comment section. I would love to talk to you guys about this because that's what I like doing. Leave me other recommendations of other shows I should watch down below as well, because I'm making my way through them. Yes, I'm gonna watch The King soon. Literally everyone slid into my DMs, including my mom, to tell me to watch The King. I'm gonna watch The King, I promise. I'll watch it soon. Any other show recommendations, please leave them down below. I'm just gonna make my way through them. I'm gonna binge watch and it's gonna be a great time. If you guys want to see more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe, give this video a thumbs up, and all of that. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. See you guys later. Bye!